Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin with today's video. Let us discuss the Christmas sale deals on Steam. Currently it is the 21st of December, and there are some fantastic titles on sale. So on the daily deals, the first one we're going to discuss is The Wolf Among Us. Now, we have covered this on the channel, and it is indeed by Telltale Games. So this title is episodic, very much like, say, The Walking Dead. Some people actually prefer The Wolf Among Us to The Walking Dead because it's a unique storyline. In other words, it's brand new. It pretty much has the same strong storytelling elements, very much the same type of gameplay. It's a case of, if you like The Walking Dead and you're interested in point and click with a difference, then you could certainly do a lot worse. It's currently available for 33% off, which makes it $16.74, which is not bad. This is US dollars, of course. I would highly encourage you to check it out if you're interested in these type of games. Next one is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. So, this is available for 50% off, which is $4.99. Honestly, I have seen it cheaper than that, but it's still a pretty good price for what you're going to get out of it. Now, this game is long, and you're going to get many hours of gameplay, at least 30 to 40 on your first playthrough if you're trying to get a reasonable state of completion. You can indeed mod this for widescreen because the game is fairly old. Which kind of counts against it, obviously, in terms of graphics. Combat, however, is still pretty solid. There are an absolute plethora of mods for this one, which gives you a lot of different force powers. I would actually encourage you that you do not play with them the first time and that you just play through the game. However, I would recommend the widescreen mod. There are a few issues with the Old Republic 2, which weren't present in 1. Primarily, the game definitely lacks some of the polish of the first one. This is primarily due to the fact that the developers, which of course were Obsidian Entertainment, were somewhat rushed through the development. It's a bit of a shame. It's still, in my opinion, a really, really good title. It just lacks some of the polish of the original, but I would still encourage you to check it out. Next title is Sleeping Dogs for $4.99. That is US dollars. This is actually a really good price for the game, and I have mentioned before that, by the way, before I forget, there is a first impressions of this on the channel. So I have mentioned before that some people wrongly accuse this of being like a GTA in, Asia ripoff, and that's completely and utterly unfair. It does have some issues that I'll discuss in a moment. But it's a beautiful looking game. It really is. It plays really well on the PC. And if you have the rig to run it at, say, 1080p, you're really going to feel glad that, you're playing the PC version. So there are a couple of issues. Primarily, it takes a while for you to get a gun. And trust me when I say it can be a bit daunting and frustrating to get one if you're just, wanting to pew straight away. Second issue, counters in terms of the fighting. You've got a counter system, and it, honestly speaking, is a little too strong. It can make the fighting a bit rigid because sometimes all you want to do is just counter because it just works out to be the better way to fight, honestly. So that's a bit of a problem. But storyline and everything else is pretty damn solid. It's not quite a GTA 5, but in my opinion, it is still more than worth checking out. And the landscape, the architectures of the buildings, and just the cityscape in general is pretty damn breathtaking at times. Next one, Darksiders 2 and Darksiders 1, both available for 80% off, which makes it $9.99 or $3.99 respectively. Also worth noting that you've also got a bunch of DLC available for 80% off as well. So I have done a first impressions of both of these titles, and honestly speaking, I actually quite like both. There are some issues to do with texture resolution that was somewhat fixed in a patch for the second one. Basically speaking, the resolution for the textures is a little lower than what I'd like, and you could definitely see some consolitis in there, which is a horrible, sickening disease, but for the most part, it's still a fantastic game. Combat is quite solid. It's quite open. You can do quite a lot of stuff in terms of the levels, and design actually feels pretty solid. Combat is quite nice. Unfortunately, there's no demo for this. I have some issues with the RPG elements, sometimes feeling a little limited. Combat is quite tight, however. And if you're good, like if you're playing well, you're definitely going to feel the ability to basically go forward a lot easier and be able to defeat certain enemies a lot smoother. So in other words, you're going to be rewarded for that. I would highly encourage you to at least check out my first impressions of this just for a few minutes to give you an idea. I would say that if you're interested in, say, God of Wars, the old Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain, specifically the 3D ones, so say that Soul Reavers onwards, that type of thing, you're going to quite like it. Storyline, it's not exactly the best thing you've ever seen, but it is quite tightly written and good for what you've seen. It's a pity that it's unlikely to be a third. So Battle Builder is available as either a single or a 4-pack, 75% off for both. That's $3.74 or $11.24 respectively. I can honestly say that I absolutely know nothing about this title. I've never been interested in it. I've done a quick amount of research for you guys, and it scores okay in terms of Metacritic and so on. I can't really be of help, I'm sorry, but as I said, trillions of times now, I cannot physically play everything. I would encourage you to at least look at some gameplay of this, or check out some reviews, see what you think. I can't honestly help. One I can help with, however, is Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which is available for 75% off, which makes it $3.74, or for $7.49 you can buy the entire Counter-Strike complete, that's once again 75% off, or for 50% off you could buy the Valve Complete Pack, which is, well, $50. So CSGO, of course, is the latest in the Counter-Strike brand. Some would argue it is not the greatest, despite it being the latest. Some of the maps have been rebalanced. Specifically, you'll notice it on maps such as Aztec and certain dusts. Inferno as well has had some definite changes. Honestly speaking, I actually quite like the changes. The only reason I don't play this, really, is because I just basically got out of CS when this was released. I covered it early on the channel, so you could check that out if you so desire. You can see, say, the Aztec and what they've done to the map. And just FYI, they're some of the first videos we've done on RGT, so they're pretty old in terms of quality and stuff. But regardless, yeah, I do quite like the balance. Some of the controls and the bullet patterns and stuff have been definitely, in my opinion, improved over Source, which honestly I wasn't that much of a fan of. I felt Source felt actually. But in my opinion, I'm pretty old school. I really love. I'd probably say my favorite out of them is probably Condition Zero, which I might sound blasphemous for saying that, but there you have it. Nevertheless, CSGO is pretty awesome. Be warned, if you're not used to Counter-Strike gameplay and you're used to something like Modern Warfare, or say, I don't know, Battlefield or something, basically any game where you respawn quickly, you're gonna get pissed for the first couple of days you're playing this, because effectively, if you die, you're pretty screwed. Actually, for the round, you can't respawn, there's nothing. So sometimes, for example, you could literally die within 20 seconds of the round, and yes, that does happen quite frequently, particularly if your team decides to rush, and say half your team decides to rush and you're one of them, and then let's assume that it's just a couple of people remaining and they're trying to find each other for the rest of the map, and one person just does not bother to go for, like, planting the bomb or the hostages or whatever they're trying to do. It can be bloody infuriating waiting the 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Nevertheless, it's a very small niggle and actually teaches you to bloody well not die. Anyway, moving on. Next title would be Forced. This is available for 50% off, $7.49, and of course is an indie action RPG. I can honestly tell you that I've not tried this game out ever. I've done a bit of research for you, and it seems to score pretty well. 7 region out of 10, which isn't bad. Basically, it's one of those titles that I'd say that if you've got friends who are willing to play it with you, it's going to become infinitely more fun. I honestly can't say that I've tried it myself, so I'd say ask around of maybe a couple of friends or check out a video or something like that. Unfortunately, once again, the old chestnut of I can't play everything. Next title, however, Age of Empires 2, the HD edition. This is available for 75% off or $4.99. There's also a bunch of different DLCs and expansions available. So, Age of Empires 1 and 2 and the rest of them have a bit of a legacy and a history in PC gaming, of course, are pretty synonymous with strategy. You know, that, Total War, and a couple of others really helped to define the genre. But there's a problem with the game. Pretty much, this is a case of times have moved on, and some people just might not necessarily really want to play such an old game. That's not to say it's a bad game. It's still pretty damn good and holds up mostly fairly well. I would probably recommend that you do a couple of YouTube videos or something. I really wish they gave a campaign away with this type of thing. It does support Steam Workshop, by the way. I'd probably say check out a few YouTube videos, maybe look at a couple of written reviews as well, just to give you an idea if this is your type of thing, because it's pretty hardcore. And then you can get an idea of if it is for you. Final game for today would be Starforged. Now, there's 2 versions of this. Well, actually, there's 3 versions of this. There's the standard version, which is $9.99, the digital deluxe, $14.99, or $37.49, which is a rather princely sum, will buy you Starforged, the Founders Club. Each of those is 50% off, may I add. This title is early access, and so basically you're playing for an unfinished game, which of course means it's going to have some issues with it currently. I can honestly say that I don't know that much about it. It looks kind of cool from a couple of videos I've checked out, but I can't tell you if it has any major gameplay breaking bugs or issues since it's an early game, or if it's going to be your thing. I know that kind of sucks, but there you have it. So, I'm going to lightning quick now go into the flash sales. There's going to be Lightning, Binding of Isaac for the price, 75% off, $1.24. Fantastic game. Bit twisted, but pretty damn great. XCOM, Enemy Unknown, 75% off, $9.99. Definitely worth it if you're interested in strategy type of games. It's maybe not the strongest XCOM game out there, but it is pretty damn good. And I have done a first impressions, by the way, of both Binding and XCOM. Next one, Craft of the World. Have absolutely no idea, sorry, can't help you. Finally, Deus Ex Human Revolution. Very tight game. There has some issues in terms of the choice system, primarily that it kind of punishes you if you decide to go out all-out brute force and murder everyone, which I don't really think ties in and gels with the choice aspect of the game. I would prefer if it didn't give you more experience, basically, for going one route over the other. But overall, very good title. Maybe not as good as the original Deus Ex, but that's just being pernickety. It's 75% off or $4.99. So anyway, this has been a lightning look at the last few games. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.